So first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Travis, and I'm the Communications Manager and Graduate Admissions Counselor here at the Graduate School. To my left is Becky Greenstrom, the Associate Director for the International Student and Scholar Services Office. To my right here is Pooja, and she is a Graduate Assistant in Watson, our engineering school. And even at the end here is June, and he is a Graduate Assistant also in Watson, correct? Yes. Excellent. So the first thing we sort of like to address are some common questions that students usually have um, uh, in preparation for this webinar. So one of the most asked questions is how does one go about renting an apartment, house, things like that. Um, One of the most useful sort of things that Binghamton has for students is our the off-college campus has off-campus college has a directory of local houses, apartments, things like that to rent. Um, and it also has some tips on sort of dealing with landlords, making sure that the lease is correct and things like that. And we will be talking a bit more about that. The second thing, actually, do you guys have any advice for renting an apartment off campus or things like that?
I think Craigslist is one of the best options. Also, there are a lot of Facebook groups that you can find your roommates, you can find apartments to rent in, and you can get in touch with the seniors who are already here, and they can get you in touch with the landlords. So it's pretty easy to get through
Excellent.
using social media.
And for Chinese students, we have a lot of WeChat group, and if you contact with CSSA, and they will let you in, and we will post a lot of uh, advertisement in it.
Also, the IGSO hosts students, new incoming students, and they help them get rental apartments too.
Excellent. Anything to add, or?
I would just say be sure to look at the resources that are on the off-campus college website because there are some tips, as Travis said, about making sure that your lease is correct, that it's an actual apartment. Because the downside to looking on Craigslist in particular is that there are some scams out there. So just make sure that what you're renting is a legitimate apartment and it's done in the proper way.
The other thing that was asked a lot is about on-campus jobs. So in addition to things such as graduate assistantships, teaching assistantships, there are options to work, in the bookstore through Sodexo, which is which is our main food provider on campus. Different things like that, depending on sort of your time or your availability. And things like that. Any advice for students looking for jobs, perhaps, or?
You need to log in and register in the Sodexo portal, and they'll keep updating you with the jobs that are incoming. And then once you're in their list, they start calling you for interviews once you get on campus. So that's there. Duncan's is there, and yeah, I think those are one of the Sodexo is one of the most given out jobs, on campus jobs.
So, another question students ask a lot about is, what options are there for food, both on campus and even in the local area? There are lots of options. We have what's called the marketplace, an area which offers about almost a dozen or so different restaurants. Some of them local, some of them are run, by Sodexo, ranging from subs to chicken to Indian fare, all things like that. And in downtown, there are dozens of restaurants that deliver or sit down, cater to all sorts of needs. And then registering for courses. So the majority of that will be done through your department. And so we always like to recommend that if students have questions about how they would go about registering or what they should pick, we always recommend that students talk to their departments to set that up. And then travel to Binghamton. So this will be our second year of offering a bus directly from the JFK International Airport to Binghamton itself. The bus trips are set to coincide with some of the most flown sort of flights and plans there, and that we will be including information more about that both later and in the follow-up email that everyone who registered will receive. So I always like to share a bit about some of the accolades that Binghamton has received. We are a premier public university. We are top 50 public universities in the nation for the 18th consecutive year. We are number 44 out of all institutions in the nation doing the most for the American dream. We are number 4 among the most affordable top-ranked institutions in the U.S. And we are number 8 best value among the nation's public colleges for out-of-state students. So a little bit about our campus and the community. So our total enrollment is around 17,000, with almost 4,000 of that being graduate students. In all, our international students make up 16% of the population. We have over 250 student groups and over 90 academic programs, including master and doctoral programs. So I'm going to let Becky talk a bit about the Office of International Student and Scholar Services.
All right. So the International Student and Scholar Services Office is here to provide support and immigration advising and programs for our international students and scholars. So we help with immigration questions, with any questions that you have about work authorization, social security numbers. We also have a couple of people in our office who specialize in health insurance and provide information and support for the international student health insurance. And then we help with any other personal issues, with if you're having issues adjusting to Binghamton. We want to make sure that we are a welcoming and supportive space for everyone in our international community. In terms of our actual advising services, so we are located very conveniently on campus, and our office is open generally 8:30 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. And our front desk staff is always here to help with any general questions that you might have, or if you need to pick up a document from our office, they would be able to help you. Now, if you have more specific questions and need to meet with an international student advisor, we have advising hours available on Monday and Tuesday in the morning, and then Wednesday and Thursday in the afternoon. And that's all done on a walk-in basis. So you don't need to schedule an appointment in advance. You can just stop by during those times and meet with an ISSS advisor. In addition to the immigration advising that we offer, we also have several programs. So we have our Friendship Family program, which if you sign up for that, you will be paired with a family in the local community. We also have a program specifically for international spouses. And then we have a monthly event, which is our International Coffee Hour, where we have coffee conversations, just opportunities to talk with international students as well as domestic students. And then in addition to those, we have lots of other events and activities that we organize throughout the year. We also have some other offices on campus that specifically provide support and programs for international students. So our English Language Institute offers tutoring and conversation programs, as well as some conversation circles and other programming that's specifically for international students. And then our University Counseling Center is a resource for all international students. They provide confidential counseling. They also have a group that's specifically for international students. So if you feel like you're having a hard time fitting in or getting to know the campus, or maybe just missing home, that can be a good opportunity to network with other students. And then just a reminder that all new international students are required to attend orientation. And for graduate students, that's on Wednesday, August 15th. And we have a full day of excellent programming that we've put together. Some of that is focused on immigration issues and checking in and making sure that you've done everything in terms of your immigration status. But we also have a lot of fun things happening. So we have speakers from across campus that come in. We have different activities to help you get to know the campus and resources. So you can find more information about that on our website. Or also keep an eye on your email because we are sending out a series of pre-arrival emails as well as the orientation information there.
I just want to let everyone know, I'm seeing that some people are having issues with the sound. Again, we will be sending these slides out in an email, a link to the recording as well, so if it's not working right now. And then I will also have my email at the end of this, so that students can, by all means, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions and either they're not able to get answered or you're unable to hear clearly, and things like that. So on campus, we have a lot of clubs, organizations, as we mentioned earlier, and some of the majority of them are for both undergraduate students as well as graduate students, but there are specific organizations that are just for graduate students. And some of those will include the Indian Graduate Student Organization, the Chinese Students and Scholars Association, the Graduate African Student Organization. In addition to sort of those social and cultural organizations, we have academic and department-based organizations, anthropology and art history, chemistry, education. They all have their sort of own groups and organizations for the department. Human development, public administration. They have a what's called a Party with a Purpose. It raises money each year for the CCPA's philanthropy incubator. Art history has an annual conference called Crossing the Boundaries. So there's a lot of ways to get involved both socially, culturally, and academically. And so I'll sort of point out two of them. Chinese Student and Scholar Association hosts events for both members and non-members. And some of these past events will include things like the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala, the Chinese New Year Gala, and then the Indian Graduate Student Organization also hosts events such as, actually I don't want to say them incorrectly, so Pooja would like to perhaps take it from here actually.
Oh yeah, we organize events like Ganpati, Diwali, Holi. IGS is nothing but a family away from home. So all these major festivals that we have in India, they are all celebrated here. All the students get together, and we have aartis every day. And the Diwali function, there's a huge program, and there's a cultural program in Diwali. And Holi is again played when it gets a little warmer. But again, you'll feel like home, and you won't miss out on all these festivals.
The campus also hosts many different speakers throughout the year. Some of our larger ones and more popular ones are the Harper College Dean Speaker Series. This past year, Max Pensky, a professor of philosophy and co-director for our Institute of Genocide and Mass Atrocity Prevention, hosted a series about is the battle against impunity worth winning? Sociology hosts a seminar series. Harper College will host one, Cool Connections, Hot Alumni, where students can sort of connect with alum, sort of see what they did, see what, where their education took them, what path they went down, garner advice, and just network in general. We also host an annual TEDx speaker series sometime I believe it's in May of each year, and that's one of probably our most popular speaker series. Each year, of course, the theme varies depending on whether it's something more in the scientific realm or on more cultural, but it's one of the most attended events. There are also options outside of the classroom to get involved in different groups. HackBU, which is a sort of scientific leaning club and organization. They host what are known as hackathons each year, where students are given sort of a problem to solve within 24 hours using different technology, engineering, computer science, things of that nature. The Pipe Dream, which is our student-run newspaper, students work very similar as a normal newspaper would. and WHRW, which is our student radio station. Students can be DJs on that. They have an entire programming list and a process for becoming a DJ. We also offer intramural and club sports, such as soccer, bubble soccer, rugby, basketball, dodgeball, all sorts of things like that. So it's another way for students to get together as a group and have some fun, things like that. Is there anything you guys like to add about sort of things to do outside the classroom, sports, clubs?
I think we have the recreational center.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very beautiful gym. There's a swimming pool, and you can make the most of it. There's a lot to do around the campus, and I forgot to mention even the IGSO organizes tournaments. They organize badminton tournaments and football tournaments and everything. So it keeps you busy even outside the classroom.
Excellent. We also have we also work hard as a university to help students both find a career sort of after school, after you finished your time here, as well as working to connect with alumni. So our Fleischman Center for Career and Professional Development, they help students with learning new professional skills, resume review, help build networks, and find students opportunities to expand their skill sets. Every year they host the Job and Internship Fair, which is one of our sort of the largest internship and job fair that we have per year. It's held in our event center. We companies from sort of all over the U.S. And dozens upon dozens of them come. Students walk around, network, meet them, talk a bit about their skills and whatnot. And the Fleischman Center also works on hosting Hire Bing, which is an online job database just for Binghamton students, for both alum and companies to put job opportunities, internship opportunities that again are exclusively for Binghamton students. As we mentioned earlier, another chance to sort of expand your skill set is being a graduate assistant. Those are paid positions, usually through either your department, different offices on campus. And I'm going to let Pooja and June actually talk perhaps a bit about their experience as a graduate assistant.
Graduate assistantship is very beneficial in more terms than one, and it gives you a lot of liberty to explore and know what actually is going on at the university, and you get to learn a lot, you get to interact a lot with people, and I think it's been a blessing to get the graduate assistantship.
Yes, I think student assistantship is very helpful for our networking and even help our work and study.
Excellent. And then again, alumni relations are always key. So we do work hard to place students, at least introduce them to our alum, as well as help with their career success. And then finally, who to talk to. So I'll let Becky just again touch on ISSS and how they can help, and then I'll go down the rest of the list.
Sure. So if you have any questions about your visa and immigration issues, any health insurance issues, and anything related to work authorizations, which is listed on this slide as OPT and CPT, that's the shorthand for a couple of work authorizations that are most common, the ISSS office is there to help you with any of those things.
Academic departments are going to be where you'll want to go to talk about both teaching assistantships and graduate assistantships and scheduling your courses. Actually, if you two want to talk about sort of how you went about scheduling your courses or any good tips to know about for that.
The departmental orientation that we have, normally we are briefed about the courses and how to go about it, and there are some basic courses which are mandatory, and according to your liking towards the subjects and everything, you can go to your graduate advisor and they'll make sure that they direct you and help you choose courses accordingly. And also the number of courses that you take every semester is optional. Again, your graduate advisor will brief you and direct you towards taking those courses.
Student accounts is going to be the office that will handle things such as tuition and billing, as well as paying for your tuition, fees, health insurance, things like that. The graduate school works with processing I-20s as well as handling transcripts. So we do require transcripts to be an official version to be submitted to us before the end of your first semester. And Decker Health Services handles immunization and vaccination. And so briefly, Jun-sun mentioned that there are a few things that students should perhaps make sure to bring when they do come. So I'll let you handle this slide, actually.
Okay. So I think you should bring some common OTC medicine because in American, if you want to buy medicine, it's expensive in our country. And if you wear glasses, I suggest that you wear two glasses just in case first one is broken. Because in American, if you want a new glasses, the one thing is it's a little trouble. The other thing is expensive, and you need some U.S. cash and change, not too much, and obviously some simple clothes. And the electrical products I think you shouldn't bring except your laptop and your smartphone because the voltage is different in different countries.
So as I said earlier, we sort of like to take the first half an hour to go through our slides, talk about some of the information that's most asked about and most useful for our students. But now I'd like to open up the chat for any questions that students might have. I see we have a few about health insurance and about GA ships. So most graduate assistantships are handled, in terms of receiving one, are handled through the department. There are a few in different offices, such as the graduate school or such as the Center for Civic Engagement. And so we always suggest students reach out to them to ask about opportunities, things like that. I'm not certain if job authorization is required for that.
So if you are working on campus, so that includes a graduate assistantship, a job working in food service through Sodexo, any other job that is on campus at Binghamton University, there is no work authorization that's needed. International students can work up to 20 hours per week on campus. The only thing would be that if you don't have a social security number yet, you would need to come to the ISSS office with your job offer letter so that we can explain to you the process of going to apply for the social security number. But no work authorization is needed. One thing I would add too on the issue of what to bring, make sure that you pack your I-20 and your passport in your carry-on bags. Because you will need to be able to present that as soon as you arrive in the United States. So if it's in your suitcase, in your checked luggage, you would have a lot of issues trying to enter the US. So make sure that that is packed in whatever you're carrying on with you. As far as the questions about health insurance, so health insurance will be automatically billed on your tuition bill. So you'll see that charge when you go to pay for your classes for the first semester. That health insurance, it's excellent insurance. It provides very comprehensive coverage for all of our international students. We are in the process right now of updating all of the health insurance information because there will be a new company that will be in place for next year. The details of that are still to be determined. So as soon as all of those things are finalized and the rates are set for the year, that will be updated on our website. But what I've been told is that the rates will be maybe slightly higher than what it is this year, but fairly similar. And also, again, it's excellent coverage that you can use. Either you can access healthcare here on campus at the Decker Student Health Center, but it also covers you for using any providers in the community as well.
So we've got a question also about how much cash and change one should carry. Any suggestions?
I think for cash, when you're an international student and you're traveling, I think $1,000 is sufficient to get here. And you should always get into log into a forex card where you can deposit your money, and you can just encash it out here at the ATMs or anything. But if you want to carry cash and if you're traveling, I think $1,000 would be sufficient for the initial few days, and then you'll always have your forex card with you.
Excellent. So again, like I said, right now it's open for any questions you might have regarding any aspects of coming to Binghamton, what you'll need, what to expect, things like that. I'm also going to just right now put up my email, just so if anyone we don't get to any questions or anything like that, you can by all means email me your question. I'd be more than happy to help answer that.
So I see another question about health insurance. The student health insurance is effective beginning August 15th. So your health insurance will go into effect then. If you are arriving before that date, which you should be because orientation is on August 15th, I would recommend having some sort of travel health insurance just to cover the period when you're here before your student health insurance kicks in. Only because healthcare in the United States can be outrageously expensive, even for a simple doctor's visit or a quick trip to the emergency room. So the health insurance that is provided through the university will start August 15th. But if possible, it's best to have some sort of travel health insurance prior to that date, just in case.
So submitting files of immunizations shouldn't affect your choosing courses or things of that nature, especially if it's not due until next month. Those are already sort of pre-established dates and guidelines, so that's all sort of normal procedures. Any recommendations on how early to get here if orientation's on the 15th?
If the orientation is on 15th, it is recommended that you get here around the 10th-ish, because you'll need a day or two to settle down. If you have a jet lag problem, you need to get some sleep, and you'll be fresh for the orientation. So I think around the first second week of August, it's better to plan your travel according to that.
Yeah, I think the arrival date also depends a little on your own personal circumstances and preferences. You can arrive up to 30 days before the start date on your I-20, and some students want to get here earlier to find an apartment and feel settled, and others would prefer to wait until closer to orientation. Either is fine, but I agree that it's good to get here at least a few days before so that you've recovered from the jet lag and are able to focus and enjoy the orientation activities.
Again, course registration sort of happens as departments see fit or what works into their schedules. But I believe it just what always happens either around or after orientation.
It is recommended to register for courses after the orientation, because you have a better picture of what courses are available, and you have, as I mentioned, you have a departmental orientation where the graduate advisor advises you to take a certain number of courses in that semester.
And in computer science, we register courses in the orientation, so you should take.
I would like to mention that there are prerequisites required for a few courses. So again, that is mentioned during the departmental orientation. So if you register for it earlier itself, and then you need to change and alter it, things like that, it's better to do it only after the orientation.
So I see another question about the bus service and how to get here. So if for some reason you're not able to sign up for the bus service that the graduate school is running, we do have information on the ISSS website about how to get from any of the New York City airports to Binghamton University. Essentially, there are options to take public transit within the New York City area to get to the bus terminal. And then there are buses that run several times a day from New York City to Binghamton.
There's no set deadline for receiving an assistantship because, again, it's handled through the department. So it may be possible that, perhaps they weren't able to give out all of the assistantships they have or whatnot. but they are sort of typically given out in springtime, summer. But again, there is some flexibility there depending on departments and their needs.
Uh, yes, your advisor will give you the information you want to choose the courses.
So I'm not certain of the exact deadline for immunization. I know it's coming up relatively soon, in a month or so. And then I believe um, there should be a link. If Casey can't find it, I will make sure to include one with more details on that. But it is coming up relatively soon.
There's a question on any temporary accommodation given to new international students. Um, yes, I can speak for the IGSO. We are hosting international students, the Indians, we are hosting Indian students for a week or more till you find your own place. And there's a Google Doc. Please connect to the WhatsApp group that we have or the Facebook link, the IGSO Facebook link. And you can send messages or you can fill in the Excel sheet, that the link of the Excel sheet is given in there if you need a host. And all the senior students host one or two incoming students till they find a place of their own, so you don't have to worry. Once you get here and you don't have an apartment, you can always sign in the Excel sheet and let us know that you need accommodation till you find a place of your own.
So there's no specific graduate assistant application. They're sort of, again, doled out by the departments on a basis of, or at least departmental graduate assistantships are based on merit and sort of previous experience. Some of the other office-related ones do have an application process, and there are links on our website under the costs and funding area that will have links to a list of current open graduate assistantship positions. So the weather in Binghamton changes. We have all 4 seasons, with winter probably being a little longer than most people would care for. However, during the summer, it does get relatively warm into the 80s and 90s. So, we recommend anything from pants to shorts, jackets, anything, any recommendations?
I think once you don't need to carry your jackets or anything. Don't waste a lot of money getting it from India, because those jackets are not enough over here. It gets really cold, and the jackets and the sweaters and the cardigans are all available here and at a very good price and at a very good quality. So just get your normal clothes that you have that you'll be wearing during your fall season. Once the winter gets close by, you can get those jackets from here. So also the jackets that we get back in India are really expensive, and again, as I said, they won't sustain the cold comparatively. So yeah.
One of the one of the websites I suggest most to students is our off-campus college. I'll get that right eventually. Their website, they have a server that hosts a large listing of available apartments, available houses, be they 1, 2, 3 bedroom, whatever the case may be, and that's sort of hosted and monitored by Binghamton University. So that would be one of the most trusted ones, and that can be found right through our website as well for information for students.
Should I answer the pre-request for CS?
If you'd like to, by all means, please.
Okay. I think the pre-request for CS background is a little math and a little coding and a little data structure, and that's enough.
Excellent. So there are some ways to find classmates in advance. As Pooja said, the IGSO does a lot of outreach for reaching students. Facebook groups, things like that, are all great ways to sort of meet other students coming to Binghamton before you get here, and finding ways to find apartments together.
Oh, by the way, if you contact the CSSA, and they can post your information. So,
And I will include in the follow-up email after the webinar all the information about how to get in contact with these two groups, and sort of trying to help make the process a little bit easier.
Do we get Indian meal in Binghamton? Yes, you get very tasty Indian meal here in Binghamton. There's Mogul here on campus, which will provide you with the Indian meal. Off campus, there are three really good restaurants, which will give you an Indian meal. There's a buffet also. There's a lunch buffet, and at a very reasonable and it's really tasty also, and you won't miss home food.
So again, we've got about another 15 or so minutes. If there are any further questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. If not, again, please feel free to email me. My email is right up on the screen. And again, I will be sending out a follow-up email with links to our bus service, how to reach, contact the IGSO and the CSSA, finding housing, and as well as information on immunization and things like that. So if you didn't get all the information here, again, please feel free to reach out, or in the coming up days, I will be sending out a follow-up email.
I would like to add on with the Indian meal here. A lot of Indian students have this thought that you might not get you pack a lot of Indian spices and things like that. Your mom makes all the masalas and gives you, but don't worry, you have everything here. There are two big Indian stores which will give you everything, right from the Indian spices to all the pulses and everything. So don't worry, you even get the wheat flour that you have every day. So everything is available here. Okay. How much cash to carry to campus? If you're an international student traveling, I think what I mentioned was $1,000 cash would be sufficient till you get here, because you majorly will need cash to commute to get to Binghamton, and once you get here, if you're already looked for an apartment, then you might have to pay your rent and your deposit. So $1,000 would be sufficient, and I highly recommend you to carry a forex card with some money deposited in it, and if you need any cash on emergency basis, you can always get access to the ATMs and withdraw money. So it's safe to carry a minimum of $1,000.
So the insurance is added into your bill when you receive it sometime in early to mid-August. Again, the rates are still being sort of established for this upcoming year. It is required for anyone with a J1 or an F1 status or visa.
Yeah.
And it covers, it can be used both at our on-campus health service center in the surrounding area, and it is a relatively very good insurance for students. So there are vegetarian options both in the local area, on campus as well. Many of the on-campus areas, restaurants, dining halls have vegetarian options, vegan options as well. And then in the local area, there are plenty of options for vegetarian and vegan. And any of the prerequisites for mechanical engineering would be specifically on their information site. And so I would recommend that as a first sort of point of reference. And again, so the insurance is sort of a set insurance offered by the university. And so that's the one that would be offered and the one that you would be taking.
So, on the topic of social security numbers, this is a really common question for new international students. The U.S. Social Security Administration will only issue the SSN if it's required for employment. So, for new students who are just coming to the U.S., that typically means if you have an on-campus job. If you do not have an on-campus job, you're not eligible for a social security number. So you would just need to let, for example, if you're trying to get an apartment or a cell phone or something like that, those are the cases where they would typically ask you for your SSN. And they're asking for it to do a credit check, but you wouldn't have any credit anyway. And if you don't have an on-campus job, you're not eligible for an SSN. So you would just need to explain that you're an international student and you don't have a social security number yet. All of those parties, whether it's a landlord or a cell phone company or whatever, they will have some other procedure to help you. Sometimes you have to pay a bit more of a deposit, but there are ways to do all of those things even without a social security number. As for applying for a New York State ID card, that's completely up to you whether or not you want to apply for one. I do recommend it because then if you are going someplace where you're asked for ID, you have a state ID that you can show instead of having to carry your passport with you everywhere. But we'll talk about that more at orientation, and there should be some information on the ISSS website as well about how to apply for either a driver's license or a New York State ID.
Excellent. Great questions, everybody. We've got about 10 more minutes and before the end of the webinar, so time for a few more questions if anyone has them. Again, I am more than happy to answer them outside of the webinar. If you send me an email, I will, be happy to respond. So departments, depending on what students need, depending on the program, it would all be all go off of that. In most cases, however, departments usually, if the computer is required for part of the student's research or for teaching a course or for things of that nature, things like that would be offered and would be, given to the student.
Yeah, you.
As for the question about getting a driver's license without an SSN, yes, it's possible. The thing is that you would have to first get a document, you get a letter that says that you're not eligible for an SSN, and you take that with you to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, when you apply for the driver's license.
Yeah, Indian license is valid in New York State for 6 months once you enter the country. So yes, but it's recommended once you get here, you start the license process immediately. But yeah, till then, for 6 months once you enter the country, Indian license is valid in New York State.
Also, Chinese license is valid in New York State, but you should bring your translation document for your license.
And also, it is recommended to get an international driving permit from India itself. So it's better that ways also.
Again, just a few more minutes, time for a few more questions. So paying tuition and the fees, you'll be sent an email from our student accounts sometime again, I think early August with the bill for the fall semester. In there, you'll log into the QuickPay site to pay it. And there usually is a deadline given in that email for when the payment is due by, but all the information should be contained in that email. And payment can be made right through the site with credit card, debit card, things like that. I believe checks still. Um,
Yes. Forex card can be used to pay the tuition fees, but again, there's a limit of transaction for a Forex card per day, so you'll have to do it in installments.
um, Again, so yes, the modes of payment are credit, debit, Forex card, things like that. It's all done right online, so those are usually the most efficient methods.
We can even go to the admission center for the payment of tuition fees if you don't want to do it online.
Excellent.
So the process of opening a bank account in the US, it's fairly straightforward. As I said, you do not need a social security number in order to open a bank account. You will need to have proof of your address and your immigration documents. And then you'll go to the bank and provide all of that information and you can open an account. We do have a bank on campus starting at the beginning of July. That's going to be Visions Credit Union, and they'll have a branch located right in the union. They also have ATMs in the union, and they have many locations in the Binghamton area. And they will also be at our orientation. So when you're here on August 15th, one of the things that you can do in the afternoon is go meet with the staff from the credit union and be able to open an account there. So we're working with them to make sure that they understand what documents international students have to streamline the process as much as possible.
How to pay tuition fees in case of education loan. The firm that you're taking your education loan from, you can ask them to sorry, you can ask them to transfer the money to your account and then proceed as mentioned. And if you might need the statement to show it to the firm that you've taken the education loan from, and I think it's the same procedure after that. What government IDs do you recommend for us to carry from India? Your driver's license is essential if you want to drive here, and it might take a few days or weeks for you to get a driving license here. So I think that's the only thing required, and of course you'll have your passport. So I don't think you need any other ID as such if you have your passport. So yeah.
For those with funding, I would recommend talking to the department again to see when they send that out and the process that they use for that.
I would also say for anyone who has funding, to assume that it will take a little bit before you receive your first paycheck. I don't know if that's been your experience, but typically in the US, when you start a position, there's a couple of weeks delay before you receive your first check. So make sure that you have access to funds at the beginning of your stay because it may be a little bit before you get paid.
So so we're nearing the end of the webinar. Just about enough time for maybe another question or so. But again, if you didn't get your question in, if you think of others, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer them. We'll also be sending out a follow-up email with some of the information covered here. And so, if that doesn't answer all your questions, again, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to answer them. So carrying and not carrying in luggage while traveling in terms of food, obviously nothing perishable or that would go bad. I believe that the TSA has sort of certain requirements, especially on carry-on for liquids, things of that nature. And so I would direct anybody to look that up because it does vary.
Yeah. do not. It is recommended not to carry any seeds like cumin seeds or anything like that. Do not carry any
Meat.
meat. Yeah, do not carry any fruits, vegetables, any meat or in your carry-on you cannot carry anything that is more than 100 ml. That's yeah. Do not carry any powdery substance with you because it gets a little suspicious and it's recommended not to carry. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's most of it.
The U.S. Customs and Border Protection website, or CBP for short, does have information about what foods and things you can and cannot bring into the United States. But Pooja pretty much went through the list. But if you have any doubts, I would recommend checking there. And then the TSA limits what you can bring in your carry-on luggage.
So again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. I know we had a few issues with sound, and again, I will be sending out a recording of this video, the slides, information on contacting organizations on campus, some of the most asked questions, things like that. It's not a mandatory to have labels, but again, there are certain guidelines to follow in terms of what to bring. So again, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is right up on the screen, and again, I will send out a follow-up within the following days, giving this webinar, the slides, information, all sorts of things like that. And so we look forward to seeing you all here on on the 15th for orientation. And again, welcome to Binghamton.